Folks, are you tired, run down, listless? Does the fear of doing your taxes shake you to the very core? Are you having trouble cleaning in those hard-to-reach places? Well, unfortunately, this podcast can't really do anything to help out those problems, but if you're looking for an entertaining show that talks about film, then tune in to DragonCon 3000 with me, your host, Greg McIver, and my wonderful co-host,
Nikki Boom Boom.
Alright, that's enough out of you. Get on out of here. Check us out. You'll be glad you did.
Can someone go ahead and kill that, please? Just stop the track.
Nerdtopia, yo, and we got a fucking podcast. Cruising in the speeder, bullseye, and flipping womp rats. Comics, video games, movies, real-life superheroes is what you can expect if you're wired to be weirdo. So we welcome all the newbies and the groupies, flashing boobies in the movies without cooties. In the show, it's got you drooling with this comedy, no fooling. Now presenting you your host is Steven Doolin. Word, NerdtopiaCast.com, Facebook.com/NerdtopiaCast, also YouTube and podcast 38 seconds.
In our last great adventure.
Who's the motherfucker that calls himself Steve? You wanna see my badge, Steve? Here's my badge! I don't care how you do it here! I'm on my own! I'm a lone wolf! I don't know which wire to cut!
I'm surprised, actually, the fact that MacGyver is here, that he hasn't, dropped from the ceiling at this point. This is part 2 of our big two-part DragonCon the extravaganza for 2012. My name is Steve Wareham.
I am Doolin Dalton.
And we are joined today by our lovely co-host, our two-time co-host, setting records and breaking hearts, ladies and gentlemen, Saralynne Evans.
Hi guys.
You know her from our website as Gaming Goddess. We are regaling our epic dragon slaying tales.
Dragon Tales.
Dragon Tales was a show, right?
Yes,
that was a kid's show.
Well, it was a slightly ethnic show.
Well, now it's
it was?
Now it's copyright NerdtopiaCast.com.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think that's yet another thing that Antoine Dodson was afraid of. Breaking in your windows, copyrighting your stuff.
Copyrighting your shit.
So this is our special 2-part episode. I'm gonna start off. I don't mean to kill the mood because it's not.
Started on a low note and on a high note.
It's not. This is not a mood killer for me. It's something that it's the natural progression of life here, ladies and gentlemen, and we are celebrating a life.
Steve has testicular cancer. He's got 2 months left.
No, testicular cancer. If I was lucky. Sorry, I didn't have the balls to say it. We love you, Lance Armstrong.
File it.
Yeah, all right. So, as many of you are aware, I have a small human thing that's going to crawl out of my wife within the next couple of weeks, which leads into a completely different bunch of funny stories from this weekend altogether. But I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. Just to kind of usher this...
usher in the tide of new?
Yes, usher in this new gentleman and teach him the ways of the Force. It's going to be a tentative thing. I'm going to try to, no promises. My wife is also going back to school as well as being 8.5 months pregnant. And and being a trooper here this weekend, certainly. So all my free time essentially is now being dedicated to child rearing and baby making is done. We're done with that.
Baby making is done. You're just
baby having.
Yeah, baby hatching, baby catching. So that is going to be my life for the very near and foreseeable future. Certainly throughout the fall. And I'm going to try as possible to contribute still to the site. Certainly will be active in the Facebook group as well, and kind of helping out with the tech stuff. And we actually have in that vein a couple of things in the pipeline that we're not ready to announce yet, but some big things working that by this time in December we'll have so many new listeners. You guys would have forgotten all about me anyway. Yeah, it's kind of a downer that we're not going to be able to hang out for a little bit, but a lot of positive change is going to come out of it. And what I've always said is sometimes little bad things, the hiccups that happen in your life are necessary to spawn the best things.
Right.
Sometimes the hard things, the hardships lead to even bigger and better things, and I know that that's in store for both the website and the podcast. Question mark. So Doolin is going to soldier on without me. We haven't really talked about we've talked about it a little bit, but we haven't come to a decision as far as whether or not we're going to do kind of revolving co-hosts. You're going to find somebody static.
Right now, I'm gonna try my hand at a few different revolving co-hosts and just see who kind of works for me.
Sure.
And keep your ear open for Steve, because there might be a week where I'm able to get down here to Georgia and we can sit and do an episode together.
Absolutely.
So you never know. But as of right now, the co-hosts are going to be kind of here and there, and you never really know who you're going to get week to week. So
absolutely.
So as of next week, Steve will not be in the seat with me. It'll be somebody else. Can't tell you who yet.
Yeah.
So, not because it's a big surprise, because I seriously don't know.
It's not Michael Cera. I've already asked.
It's Matthew McConaughey.
You don't be a great co-host.
No.
Andre the Giant.
No,
you
man.
people are gonna miss that.
No, it's Matthew McConaughey. No, man, it's Andre the Giant's dead.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get a word in edgewise if Matthew McConaughey was here. Your mouth would be full the whole time. It's true.
I'm not saying that I would, but I'm not saying I wouldn't
It's
either.
not gay if it's McConaughey.
That was one of our shows. Oh my god! Oh my god! So, anyways, yeah. So,
But that one.
yeah, we've got a ton of stuff. We got a ton of stuff kind of going on in the pipeline. Again, it's gonna be a break. It's not this isn't the end of the world. I still love you. I just think at this point we need to go in different directions for a little while, and we'll come back. I feel really dirty right now. You talk for a minute. All right. I'm going to tend to my child here for a second. We may actually have, I don't know, your wife is babysitting my kid today.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be able to bring Molly along, and I'll share my little Molly stories here later on in the show. But they've just informed me that they found a place that has burritos, and I need to be a part of a burrito at some point today. So I'm going to let you chatter for a second, and I am going to tend to the baby rearing, the aforementioned baby rearing. One moment. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic.
All right.
DragonCon. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So here we go. We're at Monday. It's the final day of DragonCon. I've been here as well as Steve and Saralynne. Now, Saralynne and I actually haven't seen each other
Since last year.
Yeah, since last year
About
when we
this
randomly
time.
bumped into each other. I think it was Saturday, because I only did one day last year.
Yeah.
But it was Saturday when I came down, and I think I touched on the story very briefly back in Nerdtopia when we did Nerdtopia. But I was walking by, and just out of 40,000, there was like 40,000 people here last year, just walking by, and Saralynne and I had worked together at another establishment that shall not be named because it's evil. And I just kind of did that double take, and I was just, because I hadn't seen her, as I left town once in November to go to my friend's wedding, and when I came back,
I was gone.
Yeah, when I came back,
I disappeared.
my supervisor was like, I need you to take over Saralynne's shifts, and I was like, what? So, and so I just kind of wrote that off. I was like, well, never going to see her again. Just kind of wrote it off and moved on, and then there she was in downtown Atlanta. It was kind of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, so anyway, so this is the last day. Obviously, you've done a lot of the gaming panels. You've done your son with Mandalorian Mercs. It's not mercenaries, it's Mercs,
no,
right?
It's the Mandalorian
Are they affiliated
Mercs.
with the 501st at all, or
Sort of,
no?
kind of, not really. They are the licensed Lucasfilm.
They're licensed by Georgie.
Yeah,
Boy.
well,
okay, sort of.
More through like Dave Filoni and other guys like that. But they are the licensed Mandalorian costuming club for Star Wars.
Okay.
We do joint functions with the 501st and the Rebel Legions, Dark Empire, but they're more their own thing. If you don't know what a Mandalorian is,
Then
Boba
get the
Fett.
fuck out. Then get the fuck out.
No, Mandalorian is Boba Fett, Jango Fett from the movies.
Don't explain it to them.
Well,
if they're listening to the show, they need to
should
Now
know.
listen,
know.
hold on. No. If I'm going to be gone, you need to learn how to be nice to people that don't know things. Now, give them a second. Understand that they could have been in a well, Doolin. They could have been that girl that the guy kidnapped and put in the cardboard box, and then she came out and she's like, everything's fine, and it was like all those years.
Or the balloon boy.
But
Or
you know,
yeah, that guy.
Who was gone for all of 2 hours.
But
Yeah.
you know, just because you're a nerd doesn't mean that you like Star Wars.
Yeah, but it's
I know.
knowledge.
I know.
It just
I
makes
know.
me angry.
Not everybody's like
Makes
you
me
and me
angry.
as far
Okay.
as Star Wars. So sometimes we have to,
All right.
you know, help
Okay.
people along.
What if they're
follow
allergic
along,
to
just-
space?
Well,
I've never been to space, and I like Star Wars.
Maybe they have spatial
Oh,
allergies.
God. Anyways, so what were you telling us about the Mandalorian mercs?
okay. Mandalorian equals Boba Fett, right?
Right.
And so
His backpack's got jets, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
jet backpacks are evil.
The Rocketeer had one.
But
And he
never
was
mind.
awesome.
Never mind. That's another tangent for another time. But Mandalorian mercs were all custom Mandalorians. We all do our own armor. There's male and females. We actually have a special program for little ones that can costume as well, and they come along as long as they have a sponsor.
Little Mandalorians?
Yes, yes. And essentially, we're similar to the 501st and the other Star Wars folks because we do charity work.
Okay, cool.
And they used to have a program called the Verdica Fund, which is like Little One in Mandoa.
Right.
But it's they've kind of changed it around now and everything. I'm not official just yet. I'm still working on my
Okay.
costume.
Is that kind of the requirement for
to be official?
You have to have your Mandalorian
Yeah,
costume.
you have to be finished. You have to pass their costuming
Guidelines.
requirement guidelines. There has to be certain things like you can't carry a lightsaber because Mandalorians don't carry lightsabers.
What if it was a Mandalorian Jedi?
That would be God modding.
Well, I'm just saying.
That would be God modding. That's
Okay.
OP.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No.
Sorry. Just asking. Just asking. You don't know these things unless you ask.
True.
All right.
But well, I mean, and that's just one of those things that yeah, there's a couple people that have issues with that.
Hi, we're doing a podcast, but you can sit and listen if you want.
Sorry, we're looking for the vending machines over here.
Oh no, you're
no
way
vending
off.
machines, only podcasts, but it's free. Okay, it's okay.
But yeah, so you're supposed to finish your kit, and then you get approved by the council, and
Do you stand in front of the council in front of, and then
you send them
little-
pictures standing.
like
so I
Django's
guess
like, how feel you?
we do have a Mandalore.
You do have a Mandalore?
We do
Okay.
have Mandalore. Mandalorian mercs actually started in North Carolina. Talon clan is the local clan there.
Okay.
And Mandalore actually lives in Moxville,
Okay.
so somewhere in the
I
Piedmont.
have no idea. Okay.
Yeah, so
I know where you are.
sort of
Alright.
kind of Charlotte.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Greensboro, somewhere like that.
Right on.
And the local clan here for Georgia and Alabama is Nost. So that's who I've been hanging out with all weekend.
Fantastic.
Nost clan.
So what have you done here? Like we're gonna start telling our DragonCon stories. So you're here with the Mandalorian marks. I know a lot of times you haven't been able. We've tried to meet with you, but you've been busy. You've been all over the place. And
Yeah, what the hell?
Sorry.
and we've been all over the place. So-
Nothing ever goes as planned at DragonCon.
No,
Ever,
it doesn't.
ever,
Oh my
ever,
God,
ever.
I have so many stories about how things didn't go
on
as planned.
DragonCon TV where they're like, so you're coming to DragonCon? Hope you know how to navigate and know how to make complex fucking plans. Because
Seriously.
nothing's ever easy and nothing's ever like I remember I came last year. I didn't do I stayed for one day. I didn't do a damn thing because I didn't know where anything was. I didn't have a map.
Kind of
I just
wandering
kind of
around,
wandered,
staring at people in
taking
costumes.
pictures of
Yeah.
costumes and boobs.
Boobies. There's a lot of
There's a lot of boobies.
They're
There's
around.
A lot of boobies
They're
at
around.
DragonCon. The later in the evening you get, the more
More boobies. More boobies
more-
per
more
square hour.
prevalent
No, there were
Per square inch, more boobies.
and less clothing.
Well,
Yeah. I seriously last year saw it because I stayed here late last year. We have not stayed late this year.
Painted lady.
I've seen painted ladies, but more than that, I saw a woman, and I'm not making this up, wearing and I don't want to say little more because it was all she was wearing was strategically placed Band-Aids. That's it.
Really?
Yes. This was last year. Last year I saw this.
saw strategically placed bumper stickers.
Yeah, we
twice.
saw bumper sticker lady. Today? She's around today?
No.
Oh,
like
she
the
there?
past 2 days.
Is she over there? Can
I was about to
can I go
say.
talk to her.
I was about to say because she owes me about tree fitting. Yeah, that was kind of I noticed something like, I mean, of course, I have access to the the female form, but I don't, you know, so I didn't know that they could. I didn't know. No, I'm just saying, like, I didn't know that they were as versatile.
looks, man. Like,
Yeah, well,
I do too. We were walking by and there's like a woman, and she had like just, I mean, nice ass.
Yeah, yeah.
And I turned around and I just went, good lord! And I realized my wife's standing right there. I'm like, oh shit! And and then Jen turns her head and her jaw dropped. She's, and I'm like, Jen, stop staring! Stop staring!
Well, I mean, the reason I brought that up is because they did something that I didn't know that they did, which you can squish them into the point. I think if they're ample enough, you can squish them into the point to create a shelving unit that is like clavicle high.
Which I've seen quite a bit with the corsets.
Yeah, and which I guess you could store like
this is becoming
non-perishables and, well, I mean, all of them usually do.
It's, you
Milk
know,
steak's pretty good.
like
Yeah.
if you're sitting in bed and you need a place to rest your laptop or something.
your remote
it's like,
control.
you know, yeah, or your phone fits down in there very well.
I used to be fat, and none of those things work.
But your moves just weren't supple enough.
Yeah, I didn't have. I had kind of flabby moves. I don't know why. I mean, they weren't. I wish I would. If I had supple moves, I probably never would have lost the weight. I also never would have left the house. But
Dave, didn't you come out today? Nope.
Sorry, got moves.
If you had boobies, you wouldn't leave the house either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so all sorts of interesting skin shows here. I did see the bumper sticker girl.
Yeah.
And then there were some, and I'm not gonna lie, that were, I mean, honest to God, just like gifts from the above. There was a Mystique who was on 7 directions of hot.
Yes.
Yes.
That was good. I saw that one.
And her costume was really good,
Yep.
and you know, it was around.
Yeah,
you couldn't miss it.
we've actually got lots and lots of pictures that we're gonna have. Well, it should be up now. It's up on our DragonCon photo gallery.
Yeah.
On our
I'm
website.
glad y'all got some because I didn't get.
No,
quite
this is
as
the
many.
future.
Oh,
all of it's up.
Oh.
Can't you?
Yeah, we're in the
Sorry.
future. It's up.
Sorry.
Everything's up now.
I did not get as many pictures as I wanted to this year.
We took as
but
many as we could.
I just so busy.
Let's start with let's start with some of the events that we kind of did.
All right, so we'll start. Start with Friday, and then just kind of walk our way through it.
Sure, we can do that. The first thing that we did when we got here on Friday was we went straight to. We got here and we're like, well, what do we do? And the first thing that we went to was, and I've never been to a con in as much as like last year I did the line ride here, the registration ride, and we got to the end of the line, and by that point it was just like, nope, not worth it, because we're gonna have to pay $100.
It was 3 hours last year.
Yeah,
It was bad.
yeah. So that was
This year it wasn't bad.
No,
not
it was.
at all. It was much more organized.
To start things out, I would have to say that I came in on Thursday instead of Friday.
Mhm.
And I will have to say I am very impressed with the new system that they've got going on because
Yes,
I didn't.
I've heard that.
I didn't buy my pass online. I went through and paid, but the other folks I were with did buy their pass online.
Right.
We both got out like at
Yeah.
the same time. I was like, really? You guys didn't have to stand there and wait? Holy shit. So yeah, I mean, the line, I was in line for less than 2 minutes, which was awesome this year.
Look
awesome,
forward to that.
awesome.
Look forward to that next year.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me like they had more kind of people movers out there,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
critical too, because even with the
So
job that they
fucking
did, it
congested.
was still pretty packed. But you know, it wasn't to the point where you were crack to crack with other folks.
And there's a couple places where it kind of turned into a clusterfuck. But
Yeah.
honestly, I think there are more people here this year than there were last
I
year.
think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Just because of the cram, especially in the Marriott and the Hyatt, is just so.
You know, and I'll start off by saying the first thing that we went to was probably.
It wasn't the podcasting track.
No, this might have been my favorite panel that we went to. It
Okay.
was the first of the zombie ones, and it was the Urban
That's right,
Survival
Urban
Guide.
Survival Guide. Yep.
Nice.
Which now I've never been to a con before.
Which really was less about zombies and more about just post-apocalypse survival tactics.
Sure. And I am a little bit of an apocalypse nut, and so to be able to hear all this stuff about like survivalism and what happens when everything goes wrong. I busted out my notepad and just started taking notes.
He did, man.
Like furiously, like I learned a recipe for cyanide in there.
That's
yeah, they just shared that
Both
information
interesting
freely.
and disturbing, right?
that's kind of frightening.
Yeah. But don't worry, I'm not going to use it on myself. So
Who
like.
are you going to use use it on?
Well, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Shia
Be
LaDouche.
drinking any Kool-Aid at your house.
He's going to use it on Shia LaDouche.
Well, now if you tell it, you have to see spoilers before you say things like
Spoilers!
that. The future.
It's going to happen.
So that was like, to me, that was really cool. And they had people on there. They had the panelists on there were disaster experts, like people that were in the top of their field. A lady that I went to at a different apocalypse track was one of the world's foremost cryptologists. So, I mean, they had like some serious people up there talking about this stuff, which was really interesting to me to hear like experts go through this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but I'd never been to a con before. I didn't really know what the format was. I mean, I guess I expected more activity, but by the time we had gone through our third panel, which second we went into a podcasting track, which was really nice. It was hosted by a guy named Mark Gunn, who does Celtic music, and
it was nice.
And Nicole, I remember Spagnolo, who she and her husband do a woodworking podcast, but it was about monetizing it and things like that, business stuff. So we went there. Did that for a while, and it was kind of all the same stuff. And then we go to one after that. We went to podcasting, and then we went to another one, which escapes me. But by the time the third podcast was over, I was like, this is like school. I was like, all I'm doing is sitting here taking notes, listening to people talk. I guess I expected more standing and stretching. So that was like the first three things. That was before things took off.
Friday brought us to Night and Bree, which is
which
made your wife.
For 10 fucking years, I had to hear about this kid.
Oh gosh, your wife was very happy.
She told me about this.
Yeah,
when I saw her.
Well, she's told everybody that will listen to her. All right,
so your wife's a big Tolkien nut.
Big Tolkien nut, first of all.
Yeah.
Actually, we met when the
you guys met but it was after Fellowship of the Ring, but before Two Towers came out.
No,
when you guys met.
I think it was It
was because it was right before. Because I remember I went to go see
Return of the King.
I went to go see Return of the King with you and your wife. Your girlfriend at the time, your wife now.
Yeah. So Tolkien fan. This lady, I'm gonna tell you, at the Return of the King preview, we're in a now. You know, I'm not saying I was hot stuff at that point back then, but I knew a lot of people at this because it was a local thing, and I knew a ton of people. I saw people in line that I played football with or wrestled with or went to high school with. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, what's going on? Why are you here? I don't know. She's bringing me whatever. Yeah, this is before I kind of came out of that.
Came out of the nerd.
I did. Yeah. And
jocking it up.
So she gets up before the movie starts, as loud as she can. My wife's got a set of pipes. She's a singer. Yeah. Screams "Frodo lives" in a packed movie theater at the premiere.
That's right. I remember that.
And
I'm sitting here going, "Oh God."
Yeah, you weren't the only one. And as we started, we got all the movies, the special features, and all that other kind of stuff. Right. There was one that she zeroed in on. She had a little man crush on one of the hobbits. Wasn't Frodo. I'd understand Frodo. Frodo, he was like, that's fucking North. Who doesn't love North, right?
It's a radio flyer.
Yeah. It wasn't Sam, which again, Rudy, I could get that. Mikey from the Goonies, I have a crush on Sam. Wasn't the dude from Lost. I mean, eventually he did something. Oh shit, I shouldn't say that. I'm kidding. What? Are you related? Are you related? This guy's been messing with my life for 10 years.
So we go to
It was the other one.
So we go to the Night and Bree, and we get there, and they've got a Celtic band set up, and they're gonna play some music that is both Celtic and inspired by the Hobbits and Lord of the Rings.
And not to cut you off, but interject. So I imagine when you see a Night in Bree and it's a planned night of festivities, we're going to be set in a dark, dim, torch-lit pub with wooden tables and people on them and dancing and big mugs of ale. And it was in a conference room, surrounded by chairs. Which
would have been okay if they dressed it up a little.
If they tried. There was a game where it was like a...
Yeah,
there was a game where you had to toss something
stuffed dragon into a volcano.
Yeah, and the volcano was a black trash bag, and the dragon was very literally like a beanbag. Yes. So I'm getting in there. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait for this.
The music was good.
The fuck? No, the music was good. That wasn't a reaction to that. Music was good. So we get in there, and
the woman gets up on the microphone and says,
real timidly,
"Welcome to a night in Bree. Thanks for coming from all ends of Middle Earth." And
sorry, you expected more.
She didn't say that, but maybe in your head she did.
She should have.
And she said, "But before we begin, somebody would like to get up and say a few words to you." And then everybody turns and looks right at the door that we're standing next to.
If you remember the story I told from like 3 minutes ago, who's that fucking guy?
Billy Boyd appears in all of his hobbity goodness.
Yeah.
And he's cute. He's cute. He's like 5 foot 6.
No, I'll say this. Number one, he was tall, much taller than I expected, and he was handsome.
Well, they made him look shorter.
He was a handsome guy. Like he was a very
But he's very well cut, and with the button-down shirt and the vest. Very, very handsome dude.
Yeah.
And he just kind of walks in, says a few kind words to everybody, and he doesn't just bolt for the door. Like,
right.
He comes over. He starts standing by the door, but he's leaving himself open for fans to come up and meet and greet and everything.
Right.
That's kind of cool. And so your wife is she's so cute, man. She turned into like a 4-year-old girl.
Right?
Yeah, she turns over and she grabs my wife, and my wife has the camera. She's like, come here. She comes over and she's like a little girl. She's like, Mr. Boyd, can I get a picture with you?
And for all the nonsense I just talked about him, he looked right at her, directly in the eyes.
Yeah.
Eyes got as big as sauce, absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you that we were married. We are married. Hopefully, by the time this podcast airs, we will still be married after saying such horrible things about her man crush. We have 2 and 9/8, or no, I guess 9/8 would be, well, maybe he's born. I don't fucking know. It's a future, all right. But we have all these wonderful things, and this may be one of the high points of her life, was meeting this dude. So I'm not going to be too critical. Thank you, Billy Boyd, for taking a picture with my wife. I guess I like you more than Lost.
I liked you in Willow.
Was he in Willow?
No.
Oh.
That's one of those things I've found here at DragonCon, that it seems like the celebrities that come in are always willing to go that extra mile for the fans.
Yeah.
They really do.
I'll tell you this. I think I want to say it was Sunday. Yesterday, I went to a panel with Dean Cain.
Yeah.
And he helped the dude propose to his girlfriend here. Dude in a Batman costume.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Oh, it was like
it was pretty awesome. They got up and told. It happened the night before the panel, but he got up and I guess his girlfriend was like a big fan of Lois and Clark and everything, and so he got Dean Cain in on it, and they told the story at the Q&A panel.
The Justice League of Love.
That's cool, man. By the way, he's held up well over the years.
Oh, he probably has.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah. You can't, the looks aren't going to run away from that face.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a handsome guy. Yeah. Look,
and then he didn't leave before his Q&A panel early, like some other media icons.
Wait. Okay. Okay. So one of the honestly, I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
The highlights. I'm gonna get a little emotional.
Okay.
Just bear with me. The highlight of my trip was going to meet one of my comic book idols.
And we were going to
founded the X-Men.
And we were going to finish this, Steve.
We were going to finish it once.
We were going to put this to bed.
Was going to meet Stan Lee. And due to some travel
unforeseen
concerns,
bullshit. Like, I'm sick of being in Atlanta and I want to go home.
The Sunday panel for which he was scheduled, he did not make.
Oh.
They called his agent. They're like, "Hey, where's Stan Lee? He's got a panel." Oh yeah, he went home.
So, so that was one of the things that, if you have some, my advice to con newbies is, if you have a panel that you want to go to, catch the first one.
Yep.
Catch the first one, because there's never any guarantees.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's neither here nor there. The other thing that I did that was kind of apart from the group was I did a paranormal illusionist as part of the paranormal track, and he was good, but being a little bit of an enthusiast myself in that kind of stuff, he was a cold reader. He almost didn't make any bones about the fact that he was a cold reader. And, that kind of wasn't, it was not a bad show. It was worth going to see. If you have a chance to see him, but understand that he is a cold reader, and that's what you're going to go see.
Right.
So that was the other thing I did kind of apart from the group. And you did a few things away from us as well.
I did.
You went out on your own a few times.
I did. I went out for the Dean Cain thing. I went to by myself because everybody knows I'm a big Superman nut.
Yeah.
So I got to go see. Even if it's Brandon Routh. I know a lot of people gave him flack for being in Superman Returns, but he didn't. That wasn't really his fault. It was just kind of a weak story.
Yeah.
But I want to meet anybody who has worn the suit, basically.
Right.
So that was a big deal to me. I wanted to go see Dean Cain and have him talk about Lois and Clark a little bit, and I just told you about that, and that was kind of awesome for me, just to meet somebody who could say at some point or another, I was Superman.
Right.
I was Superman for 4 seasons on a TV series.
And that's not like legally locked up somewhere. Somebody that can say that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I was Superman for 4 seasons. Have you seen my baseball?
They talked a little bit about the Superman curse, which is non-existent. It's a silly thing. I also went to the Walking Dead track.
Yes.
I got to see a Q&A with if anybody here is big Walking Dead fans. It was the actor who played Glenn, Beth, Carl.
Very versatile actor. It was actually Neil Patrick Harris who played all of those parts.
Oh, was it really?
No.
Okay. So who? Shit, I lost my train of thought.
Glenn, Beth, Carl,
and Sophia,
and
Jimmy, who died. He's more or less a red shirt in season 2, but he was there. And it was kind of cool because they got up for the Q&A panel, and then dude stood up and they're like, yeah, I have a question for Chandler Riggs. Chandler Riggs' is the actor who played Carl on the show. They're like, and he's a kid. He's like 13, 14 years old. And he's like, oh, here's my question. Why are you never in the damn house?
Did he actually say that? He called Carl out?
He called Carl out.
Yeah.
And Carl's just... And the poor kid, he had a sense of humor about it, but he chuckled like he's heard it a million times before.
Yeah.
So so that happened, and then they're like, oh, by the way, do we have any walkers in the audience here? Walkers, raise your hand. And then so a handful of people raise their hands because we are in Atlanta. Walking Dead is filmed in Atlanta,
right?
Where at least a lot of the scenes were.
Yeah.
And they film around the area, so a lot of the extras, particularly the ones here at DragonCon, have been walkers on the show.
Spoilers.
Yes.
Season 2 spoilers.
Season 2 spoilers, which if you haven't seen it yet, pause it if you don't want to be ruined.
Go like 5 minutes. Give us 5 and then come back. So
Yeah,
we're at the 32-minute mark. So go to 37 minutes. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyways, a couple of the walkers stood up and they waved, and then to get the heat off of himself, Chandler Riggs points at one of the guys standing. He was like, "Oh, guys, by the way, that guy over there, that's the guy that killed Dale." And the crowd turned on him so fast. They're like,
oh yeah,
boo.
yeah,
because everybody loved Dale.
Yeah, you can't not love Dale. Even in the book, Dale was that guy.
He was dad.
Yeah,
he's dad.
Yeah,
he was dad you never had, but you always wanted.
Yeah, he's a Huxtable. He was a white Huxtable.
He was a white Bill Cosby.
It's the closest thing we're ever gonna get to Bill Cosby. Thank you, random zombie man, for taking away the paternal Caucasian male that we still can't seem to find.
Now, I also broke away just this morning. I went and I did The Hobbit: Secrets Revealed.
Okay. Do we need to do another quick spoiler warning?
Well, no, because I'm not going to give that. I'm not going to give it away here. I think what I may end up doing, because these are people that run the OneRing.net, which is a big Lord of the Rings fan site, and some of the people there have been on the set of The Hobbit, and they've been doing a lot of the reporting. So they disclosed a lot of really cool stuff that if you are a fan, if you're really really looking forward to The Hobbit. They disclose some information here that they have not released anywhere else yet.
Yeah.
So that's going to be. I'm thinking about making that into an article.
Okay.
Or either that, or having Jen do it, since she's such a big fan of the show or of the stories. So she might do that. But yeah, that was kind of cool. Even me, I kind of got one foot in the door with the Tolkien fan stuff. I'm a fan of the movies. I've never read the books, but still, the stuff they disclosed was really neat.
Yeah. I don't. As you know, I don't believe in reading. So I've not read the books,
right.
But I have seen all three of the Lord of the Rings, and then the Ralph Bakshi Hobbit several times. That was my favorite movie when I was a kid. So I consider myself well versed and knowledgeable in all things but also Hobbit stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to be looking forward to that. You know, some of the things that I'm hearing about it kind of sound good.
Yes.
So next year's going to be, I think, a much bigger year for that. Another
Oh
thing
man,
that,
I gotta
Yeah, go
interject
ahead.
here real quick. Since we're talking about the Hobbit and Tolkien, going back to the Knight and Bree, and I will say this for whatever Celtic band that was covering, they did a badass cover of the Misty Mountain song from the and then
Really?
they did a cover. I mean, I can chill singing about it. They did a cover of it, and then they broke it into a rock song.
Yeah.
That is
It
awesome.
was so badass.
Yeah.
It was so freaking awesome.
Oh, wow.
I wish I had a recording of that because that was a cool tune.
The only big thing that I think that we broke off for, because you went to Dean Cain when we went to the Ghost Hunters,
Right.
which was cool. If you're a fan of the show, they had Tango and
Cash?
No, Tango and Steve Gonsalves there, Gonsalves, who are basically more of the tech guys. But Tango very much plays an antagonist on the show with the ghosts. He'll get in there and he'll basically try to antagonize them, get them moving. And Steve is very kind of calm and relaxed. I'm sure he's probably not, but very much kind of like a stoner, kind of just. I mean, but they're not. These are actually who these people are.
Yeah.
It was very apparent on stage. My experience with that initially was that I mean, it was a great Q&A. They were a little off track at the beginning, when they started getting into it, they were talking about how people used to kind of bang on them when they said New Orleans,
Right.
which is how I say it.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, you got to say Nolans, and even people in the crowd were like, hey, fuck these guys, fuck you, Ghost Hunters. So I was like, and you know, in the middle of the room, I was like, just don't say Hotlanta, because that's something you get in trouble for down here. If you say Hotlanta, like, people are gonna be like, dude, what the? This isn't, you know, 1988. Don't say Hotlanta. And then Steve Gonsalves looks right at me, and we're having a conversation. He goes, "This is where the players play, right? Hotlanta." And then, like, no one's looking at him because it's DragonCon. You can't break out Ludacris in the middle of DragonCon. But I'm like, I get you. He goes, but isn't that what the rappers call it? And I was like, I don't know. That's not my department, Steve. And he looks at me. So he looks at me. He goes, shouldn't we tell them? I said, well, you can tell them, but I ain't gonna tell them, Ghost Hunter man. And then he goes, that might be a bad idea. And I said, yeah. I said, they may be hunting you for once. So that was my first thing. But the panel kind of goes on. And I kind of get the method for these kind of medium rooms. Everybody just kind of raises their hand in the middle of the panel, wait for a question. So I'm like, fuck this. I have a question for this guy, and I want to get it. I had a couple of questions, but they started dwindling down as people were kind of being picked ahead of me.
Right.
Question. I raised my hand, and as soon as like you can tell they were getting to the end of their paragraph.
Right.
That they were talking about, my hand would go back up.
Yeah.
So I was sitting between Jen and Erica, and Jen puts her hand up, and immediately her hand goes up, and Tango's like, take her question next. And I'm like, my hand has been up for 30 fucking minutes, dude.
She's a busty blonde, man.
She,
what do you want?
and I got, after that, you know, I was like, I got the smirk. You know, she's like, haha. And I'm like, you know, at least you could have done is said, what is your question, so I can get it in while I'm up here. But another 15 minutes later, I got to ask mine, which is cool. So, but yeah, no, we got to hear some pretty phenomenal stories, and put some things on my bucket list, which involves going to the St. Augustine Lighthouse, which is apparently one of the most haunted, one of the most haunted places. So I know a lot of people are Nerdtopians and listen to it. And if you are a paranormal enthusiast, apparently that is a place where you need to go, the top of the St. Augustine Lighthouse. I will be checking that out at some point during the next 2 to 50 years I get to live. But we got to hear some cool stories from them. And then that kind of broke us off into some of the group activities that we did.
Now, for group activities, like, I'll say this, man, this is one thing that I love coming to DragonCon for. Some of the nighttime parties, now we didn't do the really late night stuff or whatever. Yeah. We had a blast.
Oh, yeah.
I'll let Saralynne, did you attend any late night parties? Or?
I didn't really, we were going to go to the last night at Alderaan.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I did that last year.
Yeah, that's usually a pretty awesome shindig, but that did not happen for us. What we did end up doing was going downstairs am playing Are You a Werewolf?
Okay.
Which is similar to Mafia.
Okay.
And it's just a bigger group, and everybody goes to sleep, and they pick the werewolves and all that stuff. It's just really entertaining when everybody is drunk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll bet. I'll bet.
And it got really that funny story about that though. There was a girl down there that we were playing with, and I've got one of my friends next to me. He's a big guy, total like huge beard,
Tats, all that other kind.
like freaking loud, but hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's got his lightsaber still with him. He's like waving her out. And this girl sits down across from us to play. She's got blonde curly hair, and she's down on the floor, and she looks up, and he looks at her and goes, points at her with the lightsaber. That's Ermagod Girl!
Oh no!
Was it really?
DragonCon!
I don't think it was, but
okay.
she looked just like her. And he goes, Ermagod Goosebumps! And everybody just dies laughing. She's like, oh. So that was fun. That was entertaining. But as far as like the major late night parties, not a whole lot this year. We just kind of, went different places.
Steve and I on Saturday night went to the
Heroes and Villains
Ball, and that was a blast, man. I was the one day I only did costume for one day because it was
hot.
It wasn't hot. I mean, it was spandex.
Yeah.
I was wearing spandex. I was rocking it. But then it was the makeup process. I had to have a lot of makeup on. You guys can see in the pictures.
You did Bizarro, right?
I did Bizarro, and my face was caked in latex.
Yay.
And it was not comfortable.
I bet not.
And I wore it all day. And then by the time I was at the party, it was starting to break off and stuff like that. But so I came as Bizarro. We got some really cool pictures from that party. Steve came as Tony Stark.
Yeah,
complete with. Did you do that?
I had the Black Sabbath shirt.
Black Sabbath shirt.
Yeah.
And so we're up there, and they got a DJ going, and
very kind of club mix.
Yeah, it was very club.
Yeah,
it was very much like being in a nightclub.
Yeah.
And I've got my beard, and I'm sitting there, I'm just kind of bouncing the music. I'm looking around, and then over there in the center of the floor, this dance circle starts to break out.
Yeah.
People are like, all right, let's go check this out. So I go over there. I'm looking. There's like Wednesday Addams.
Wednesday Addams was in there popping and locking. Like she was busting a serious groove.
Awesome.
So and so I'm standing there. I'm just kind of I've got a big grin on my face. I'm just kind of watching this go down. This guy kind of walks up next to me. He was dressed up steampunky, but I'm not going to hold that against him. For those of you who don't know, my document of the steampunk genre is my hatred is well documented. So he walks up next to me. He's like, man, this is what, and he's a kid as white as I am. He's like, man, this is what happened when you get a lot of white people together in a room. And I was like, dude, these aren't just white people. These are white nerds.
Yeah, yeah.
And I say that from a man that is dressed up like a Superman villain.
Right, exactly. It's like, hey, that's our word.
Yeah. Well, he was very obviously a nerd too.
Yeah.
So we're watching all this go down, and then Steve walks over, and he's got his Tony Stark, his jeans, and the Black Sabbath shirt and the sunglasses, and he looks at me, he's like, I'm gonna have to go Stark it up. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, he waits up there, and he waits until there's like, because people get in the middle and they do their little dance thing, and then Steve walks out with his arms out, his head up and his arms outstretched right
in the middle of the dance floor. So it's just me and Wednesday at this point. Because Wednesday, everybody was hopping in the circle and then out to dance with Wednesday. I mean, Wednesday was the attraction there.
Yeah.
Because she was killing it, man. Like, I have never seen a white girl move like that.
So people, someone jumps in and we're like, ooh, yeah, like, ooh, look, it's He-Man, all right, whatever. So Steve jumps in.
Yeah.
Like, and he's doing the classic Stark pose, and then, like, the room just erupts. They're like, Tony!
Yeah. And then they start. Then I stop. In the middle of my tracks, and some of you would know this as the Warcraft orc dance. Some of you would know this as the Charleston, which is his proper name. So I bust out in the Charleston for a minute.
Oh my
which
God.
everybody's like, oh, that's funny, that's good, and then he's done. But I wasn't done.
Stop there.
Then I gave him a good 45-second Carlton Banks dance.
Nice.
And the whole time in the background, Tony.
Oh yeah.
Tony.
Yeah. I mean, it was like you would think that somebody was taking.
DragonCon, man.
You would think somebody's taking Joe to the top of the volcano and about to literally sacrifice his ass. And then I went ahead and I slid out. I was going to go back in, but we at that point, you know, one of the other things that, and we'll get into the quintessential Erica story here in a minute. One of the other things about my wife is sometimes she doesn't know her limits. And at that point, you could see like her eyes were, you know, she looked like a raccoon with the bags around her eyes, and her face is beat red. We're like, you got to chill out for a little bit, and we ended up heading back a little bit early. But that was, I think, you know, if we're gonna give an MVP of the weekend to, man, I mean, no one took the lumps she took, especially being 8.5 months pregnant. First of all, when you're moving around with that kind of belly, because you got a belly, I ain't gonna lie. Like, and don't, like, hopefully she's had the kid by now, because I'm going to be fucking trouble.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah. You never know. She was having contractions the other morning.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. But you know, it's just, number one, she's moving around, and I'm doing everything I can to stay behind her, and like, you know, and it's making me paranoid, because I don't like crowds to begin with. Yeah. But, you know, when your unborn son is, like, you know, half a foot in front of your wife, you know, you want to make sure that she's not in a crowd, so you're constantly kind of protecting the belly. But the entire time, trooper. So we do this one thing on Sunday.
No,
we get
Saturday.
there.
Oh, you're talking about, okay, we've gone ahead now. Okay.
We get there, and it's a zombie survival thing.
Yes.
So basically what the scenario is which kudos these guys that pulled it off, but, you know, and they said this was kind of the beta, and they're going to really do it up next year. But it was basically, you know, everybody go outside, and we're going to kind of tell you a general direction in which to go and the supplies in which to get. And they use the zombie parable to teach people how to deal in actual disaster situations, which is admirable. Yeah. Zombie response squad or something like that. And so we had to go run between hotels, and we were all in groups, and we're all
downtown
super
Atlanta,
competitive.
and 40,000 people.
Yes.
For me, it was not fun. There was a sense of accomplishment when I was done. It was not fun though. Yeah. So we start running through Atlanta, right? Yeah. And the first thing I do is I get behind her, put my hand on her shoulder. I'm not pushing her, but she's moving briskly, and I start shouting, "My wife is in labor, my wife is in labor." And the seas began to part as we moved to the front of the line.
Right.
So I used that for a while, and then we went to Station 1. Station 1, guys just sitting right out there. It's water. We had canteens. We're like, water! And then we're on to Station 2, which was food. Well, you know, I mean, I had trail mix, and that's pretty much what I ate all weekend. You guys had some stuff you brought with you. So we go to food. We're like, hey, look, we got food. Food! Okay, so
Station
third one
3 was
maps.
Supply. No, maps. Right, yeah.
And apparently, map lady didn't get the memo that she was supposed to be somewhere. Because I'm telling you, I've looked through where she was
the whole time.
No, she wasn't. So we get there, and we got to start stratifying. And we're like, all right, well, Doolin and I and Jen were all on like an away team. And we started scouting because we could move the fastest. So like, Erica needs to stay. We can't go alone. But in the mass hysteria of people, we all got separated at one point. I reconvened with them back downstairs, and then I find Doolin, but we didn't find Jen.
Well, Jen took off. I mean, she was very zealous, shall I say. And so she took off running. And she's like, I'm going to go look this way. She doesn't have a phone on her. She doesn't have any way of contacting her. So like, shit. So she takes off running looking for this person. And then we find, while she's gone, we find the person that we were supposed to meet. And you guys took off because you went to go do the next checkpoint. So somebody's got to stay behind. And so like I imagine like standing there on a lonely street
at this point
during the zombie apocalypse. Like I'm gonna be the one guy in that story that stays behind to wait for his wife.
Yeah.
And she makes it back with the survivors, and I get fucking eaten.
Well, the problem the problem was you could have medical supplies, but at group one, and Group 1 and Group 2 were doing head counts. But then they realized people were dropping. So if you didn't have your entire team there, they didn't count.
Yeah.
So we started making it back because the next clue was like, all right, everybody go back to the room. We're like, okay, fuck you guys. So we all start heading back to the room, and we basically left you guys for zombie mate. Yeah. So we started heading back, hoping that the 7 that we were returning with, that we could fool them into thinking that we were all that we were still a full group, because I carry pills galore around with me, and it's not because I'm a druggie, but I guess technically I am. I'm a pill popper. But it's all legal. It is. I have prescriptions. But so like we had to go. We all get back and we all sit down. And eventually, you guys met up with us. So like, oh, thank God. You know, we're kind of close into the first one. Apparently, there was a fourth person we were supposed to find, and they didn't get the memo about where they were supposed to be.
Huh.
So I don't know where we actually finished.
Let me tell you this as a little side note. So we're going up and down. This is out in front of the Westin.
Yeah.
Out in front of the Westin, and we're trying to find our zombie apocalypse contact person to show them the medical supplies. This is after Jen and I finally reconvened with the group, and they're like, no, we don't know where that fourth person is supposed to be. So we're looking around. So Jen just kind of resorted to standing there on the street, going, does anybody know where the zombie apocalypse lady is? And people were just kind of looking at us funny. Does anybody know? And
There
then
they are.
Yep, there they are. And
You guys can sit in.
so then we've got, and then like, so we saw these other two guys that competed, and they were pompous jackasses.
Yeah.
And they're standing there like, do you know where the zombie apocalypse lady is? And he's like, well, yeah, we already checked in with her. We were first, so it doesn't really matter what you guys do.
Yeah.
And we're like, whatever. And so we go, and then we found another group of guys. Like, do you know where it is? She was here somewhere. We already checked in with her, and we're like, just fuck off. So we left them, and then when we finally found the person, they were back in the room, and you're like, oh, I was in here the whole time. And then the group, as I refer to them as the Daves.
The Daves.
Yeah, because they were a bunch of frat boy Daves. They didn't even win, so suck it if you're listening.
Suck it, the Daves. Yeah, so that was our adventure. But I went through that story to give this point, man.
Sure, yeah.
The entire time, Erica was hoofing it, 8.5 months pregnant, moving from one place to another like a champ. And yes, there's a round of applause for that. And then to top it all off, to end her day, she has her cell phone stolen. So that was kind of the end of her DragonCon experience. But I think it deserves certainly an honorable mention that she got that she kind of hoofed it the entire time, did a good job. So that was pretty much it for me. I don't think we did anything else. Come here. Today my morning has been dedicated to my daughter Molly. Who came with us. Erica set this one out because she's been... Say hi, Molly. Say hi to the microphone because this is the last one I'm going to be doing for a while. I've already announced that's old news. Hi. Talk in the thing here. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
She did the bass rap commercial, if you guys remember. Come here. And then, so we went this morning to a panel for a show that was called Shake It Up. All right? Remember that? And so the little German kid from the Disney Shake It Up show was there. And while Doolin was learning about Hobbit spoilers, we learned that he has a horse, and the horse's name was Prince, and he is a perfect gentleman, right? And did you get a chance to talk to him? Nice talking to you. I love you.
I love you too.
All right, go on.
She nodded her head yes,
Yeah.
for those of you who are listening.
So she actually got a chance to meet the German kid from the dance show from the Disney thing, so which is cool. So that was fun, and then she's been hanging out with Jen while we've been doing the podcast. Do you have any stories you want to share while you're here? We very honestly, like, there were random people we were inviting in the podcast. So you're, feel free to speak.
We had people coming. People were walking by.
I have no idea what you guys talked about yet, though.
DragonCon.
Thanks.
DragonCon.
DragonCon.
Did you guys see the guy with the shirt with the little fist on it?
Yeah, was he wearing the shirt with the
The
fist?
fist, it said on top of the little fist, it said,
Yeah, so that was basically, I mean, those are, unfortunately, that I have no more tales in which to regale you folk with, but I'm going to give you guys a chance because I've been...
Oh no,
I'm trying to give these kind folks their fill so they can sustain themselves of my nonsense in my respite.
Absence.
Yes.
I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, Doolin was right. They can hear me.
No,
I can project.
Okay, project.
Doolin was right. He insisted that I wear my wedding ring, engagement ring the whole time, and I took it off last night because I was playing with Play-Doh with the girls.
Yeah.
I got hit on 3 times today, even though I was with Molly.
Yeah, I told you.
So
Let that be a lesson, single moms out there.
So
there's hope, because very obviously, kid is not a deterrent.
Are they entertaining stories of you getting hit on? Because we can tell them right now.
Oh, you had to have one. Was one in costume?
No. The main guy, I grabbed Aiden some throwing knives. Cause
I thought you were about to be like, I grabbed his number. I was like, what?
No. So a couple of guys, they were at the booth and they stopped me and they're like, so what's the best way that you've ever been hit on? What's the worst way you've ever been hit on? And I'm like telling them these things, you know. And then I go to pay for it, and they gave me a discount. They were like, "This is probably the best way you've ever been hit on now." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh, wow.
okay. Thanks for the discount." I think.
That's, well, yeah. I mean, maybe like, look, all right. Look, dog, I just wasn't feeling it. Like, they go to an American Idol thing. It was like, that was good. That was good. I'm going to give you a 7. I mean, really, you could have kicked up the discount a little bit. If you want to go back and replay that, we probably can. But just as a general critique, I'm going to give you a 7 out of 10. I just wasn't feeling it, dog.
But yeah, totally gave me a discount on the throwing knives. So, right there.
Throwing knives.
Yeah, I looked up throwing knives for Aiden. Yeah, they're nice, too.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, man, you got anything else to add? We're about to eat.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to nibble already, so.
Saralynne.
Yeah, I can
Please.
chit-chat for a few minutes.
Chit-chat away.
I will say on the gaming end of things, my favorite experience was going to the BioWare panel.
Ooh, okay.
What did they announce about
a little bit about Halo?
No. This is Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
Mm-hmm.
The writers were there, and the voice of the male Commander Shepard was there, as well as Caden Alenko.
Okay.
So that was really cool, and they were talking about how, as far as their creative team, they're very story-driven, which personally for me is really important as far as video games go. But spoilers, there will be upcoming single-player DLC available for Mass Effect soon, as well as more multiplayer. So that is coming, and we got Commander Shepard to say, "I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite panel at DragonCon."
Oh, he could have said something so much cooler than that, though.
But, well,
I'm
no,
Commander Shepard, and
if
I
you've
love
not
Pog. Sorry.
if you've not ever played Mass Effect, he says that about, they do like a little thing in Mass Effect 2 where they record his voice. So every time you walk in a store, it says, "I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store." So he said it about DragonCon. So that was pretty cool. My other favorite one had to be the Battlestar Galactica panel. We went to that last night. Katie Sackhoff was there. That's kind of my girl crush. And most of the other members of the cast. It was really cool. And like I said earlier, I think the cool thing about DragonCon is it's really for the fans. It's very much for the fans. And the celebrities that come are here for the fans, and they're not like uber assholes about it either. They have no problem going that extra mile. So, and they went through some questions where they couldn't even answer them because it's been so long since the show was filmed or whatever, and they're like, "I'm sorry, we don't remember."
I wonder how it feels like to be one of the guys on Star Trek, and that's like, you know, that show was over 20 years ago, and people are still
Yeah.
slinging, I don't freaking remember.
Yeah. Well, I would think maybe for somebody at that point, it's like they've heard the question so many times,
And
it's
it's
just like an automatic answer. But so those two experiences were really cool for me. Another thing, I got to have dinner and am now friends with a very awesome artist who works for Topps.
Okay.
He's done a lot of Lucasfilm commission stuff. He's done a lot of Clone Wars stuff. He's done a lot of stuff for the Mandalorian Mercs. But in addition to that, he has done quite a bit of Godzilla fan art, which you know makes me happy.
That's your thing.
That makes me very happy. So I have an amazing print of Godzilla behind the World of Coke, smashing everything all to hell with Mars Attacks in the front.
Oh, nice.
So I'm that's Jamie Snell. If you've not seen his stuff, it's really, really super awesome. He's done a lot of good work. So good friend to have, good friend to meet. Was really excited about that. So
awesome.
I don't know. Most of my weekend has just been spent like absorbing everything.
Walking.
Wrangling costumes, putting pieces of armor back on that have fallen off.
That is actually most of my regular weekends, and I thought I could get away from that here, but
Nope. I was helping a Cobra Trooper and a Mandalorian keep themselves in line.
And where else are you going to do that?
I know, right? One funny little anecdote, as we were walking to the con on Friday. Yeah, we actually got fed up with waiting for our shuttle and started to walk.
Okay.
And we walked from Centennial Park to the Marriott, which is a pretty decent haul.
Oh yeah.
But
I wouldn't care to walk it.
there was a gentleman.
Isn't that where the parade starts?
It's a little further back.
Okay.
But yeah, the parade starts more in town, and where we had to walk forward was Friday. But we were kind of on the outskirts, you know, like we hadn't quite gotten to the groups of con goers yet, and all the costumes and everything. And so we were getting some interesting stares.
Right.
And there's a gentleman that walked past us. He smoking a cigarette, and he kind of did the whole watch and follow look thing. He's like, "What the hell?"
When you're that far away from the events, they're like, "What the fuck?" Well, we stopped at a bathroom on Saturday, or we stopped at the gas station to use the bathroom, and I came in and I'm in like full Bizarro costume and makeup. And in Gainesville. Yeah, in Gainesville. So we're like an hour north.
Right.
And dude's just staring at me at the register, and I finally walk in and I'm just like, "Hey," and he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "I'm going to DragonCon." He goes, "Oh,
yeah."
I wouldn't have said anything to anybody. Like I just would have walked up. "What's up? How you doing?" "Yeah, good gas here."
So I mean, overall, it's been an exhausting weekend. It has been an amazing weekend. I've met a lot of really cool people personally this weekend. Glad I finally, at the end, caught up with you guys.
Right. Well, we're glad you could come here and sit in on the podcast with us too.
Absolutely.
This has been a blast.
Yes, it has been.
Hopefully we'll do it again next year.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
hopefully we'll have our own panel next year.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Or just more of NerdtopiaCast here.
Hey, we had 2 audience members come in back.
We did.
Back in
We had a
part
live
one.
studio audience.
Back in part 1, they came in and they sat in for about 30 minutes and just listened.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So we had an audience today. It was the first time playing in front of an audience.
Yeah.
So
It's our first live show.
So,
Yeah.
Yay.
All right. Well, I'm gonna finish my lunch.
Yeah.
So let's just take it
Guys,
on home.
thanks for joining us here today on NerdtopiaCast. This has been our NerdtopiaCast coverage of DragonCon 2012. If you came out, guys, thanks for coming out. We had such a blast hanging out with you this year. Hopefully we'll do it again next year. And join us next week when my partner will be question mark. Who's the mystery guest going to be? You're never going to know. So thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for nerding out with us. Good night.
Yep.
Bye.
Find more free nerdy funny at www.nerdtopiacast.com and be sure to check us out on iTunes and Stitcher.